really enjoy erotica and romance novels. However, when I look back at the characters that I really liked in these stories, I see a pattern. I see a pattern of me being attracted to what is essentially narcissistic dominants, who kind of have this layer of emotional abuse that underlies the scenarios in the book. And the reason I think it's important is to recognize that we may have fantasies about, kind of taming the beast, so to speak. Like Beauty and the Beast is that kind of loner man that ultimately softens in love, right? That's a lot of scenarios, whether it's the millionaire, the wolf, the beast, the pirate, the kind of disagreeable loner man who's very much he's very powerful in his frame of reality. He's like certain, he's dominant, he's masculine. There's a lot to be attracted to, but what I've noticed is when that is taken into the level of that person says, my frame is the frame and I will not acknowledge your needs, I will not acknowledge you as a person in forms of, there's a kind of quality to narcissistic doms in these stories that the woman they're engaging with really is just an object to fuel their ego, or their not just their ego, but that woman really is just an object. And so we have to get into why this can get, if a woman is fantasizing with these works and she meets somebody that's almost, she views as, he has this persona, but at the end of the day, I can trust him, because that's what these stories sell. They sell the idea that you've gotten a dominant man but at the end of the day, he has your best interests at heart, and you can trust him, right? And the harm in that is when we're reading these stories and we're thinking, oh, this is the ideal romance. This is giving me the danger and the safety, because I think that's kind of the crux of what women crave. It's or any human really. We kind of crave safety and thrill, right? Safety, danger, novelty, comfort, right? So the harm in this is if you have this in the back of your mind, this character, this dynamic, and you've romanticized it and glamorized it, which I certainly did, then when you come across a man who fits that, but then won't acknowledge your needs, you are really prone to get in emotionally abusive situations. It definitely happened to me, because in reading these stories, I kind of viewed it as a role, but that at the end of the day, this is a person with empathy that will care about me. And that assumption is not valid in real life, because oftentimes people who are not acknowledging your needs, if they are not able to put themselves in your shoes, if they are not able to have that curiosity about, hey, am I doing something that's hurting you? Then they're not this like glamorized dom. They're on the narcissist spectrum. And it's important, like I know that in pop culture, everyone's obsessed with making everyone into a narcissist and analyzing it. However, it's important because you have to be able to identify when somebody has behaviors that they're not going to change no matter how many conversations you have, and you trying to get them to see your point of view. You've got to get away from them fast, because you can have like 50 conversations and things are never going to change. It gets into a cycle. And the thing with these books is they all portray this as just a part of the ups and downs in the story arc. And so that makes you think, oh, well, at the end of the day, this person has my needs and I can trust them. And there's that's kind of how you bypass or bulldoze yourself and convince yourself to stay in it, right? And I don't think that that's at all helpful. And I think that these books, if you're reading them at a young age, I think too, if I were to have been exposed to these as a teenager, then I would maybe that was my only representation of a relationship. Say I didn't necessarily see one in families or in other people around me. Then what if I read these books and thought, well, this is what true love is? And this is very similar to how the twin flame concept has been also polluted. Is it romanticizes these levels of abuse. And yes, like a lot of times abusers themselves will say they're being abused. So it's a tough thing. What I'm coming at it from, if you're in a situation where somebody refuses to see and hear you and just deflects responsibility at every cost and doesn't seem curious about making you feel seen or heard and understood, and doesn't seem to have a curiosity and a willingness to build that trust and comfort, then you're in a bad situation. And because they're only, it's all about them. They're like, this is my movie. Welcome to my view of reality. You either subscribe to my view of reality and get to be a supporting role in my movie, or you're out. Okay, that's not a healthy dynamic. And what these dom sub erotic situations do is that dom in these sexual scenarios is very appealing, because the woman gets to kind of surrender to him and not worry about her point of view, and it gets her, and usually they emphasize that actually the submissive has all the control because she is putting her trust in a dom, right? Well, that's the thing. What you should take away from this is make sure that dom has earned your trust by acknowledging your needs. That's the key takeaway. If you're going to surrender to someone and have faith that they'll put your needs into consideration in a sexual scenario, in an emotional scenario, in a professional scenario, in any scenario, then they earn your surrender and trust by being trustworthy, by following through, by having their words and actions line up, and by having that curiosity and empathy toward your needs, your feelings, your fears, all of that, right? And sometimes you might meet someone that is just kind of almost the voice is very similar to those kind of glamorized doms in these books. And so you kind of already start to build up a projection of they are so hot and they'll have my best interests at heart. No, you must observe them to see if they'll have your best interests at heart. And that's what earns the true trust and comfort and surrender of these kind of idealized dom sub erotic scenarios. And so I hope that when you read erotica, that you kind of have that discernment to realize this is an ideal scenario when that person takes your best interests at heart. Now, of course, some of them really are kind of villain hero thing, Stockholm syndrome, kind of captive, kidnapping, and then there is actually that kind of true sadistic quality, and that's sometimes fun to read. And I don't think that we should, we shouldn't be repressing and suppressing that we have fantasies that are taboo, right? However, I just think that when you've gotten to a point, I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience and how I've romanticized this and then gotten into emotionally abusive situations. So I'm just saying to kind of take a step back and realize when that these situations are maybe fun to indulge in, but the reality of being with someone that doesn't take your needs into account and views you as an object is very terrifying, and you deserve better than that. So I hope this was helpful and insightful. It's kind of just an analysis I had when I was thinking about, hey, what got me into this situation? And then I was reflecting on these erotic novels that kind of glamorized this character, and I thought it was just worth having a preliminary analysis on. But I might come back to this with more insight in the future. So thank you.